What is up everyone, and welcome back to some more Formula 1 2020 Championship mode. In the last one, we were in France. We were in France. Paul Ricard, Le Castellet. And yeah, it was a pretty good one. If you haven't watched it, then, you know, maybe you missed out, but you probably didn't. It was really, really boring, actually. I won, and that was pretty much it. Lewis Hamilton DNF'd lap 2. We find ourselves 5 points behind Valtteri Bottas, so a good result in Austria will propel us up the order. However, Valtteri Bottas usually does pretty well around Austria. We know this. It's one of his better circuits. So let's see what we can do. I believe he actually won the first race of the season in real life here, if I'm not mistaken. Which he would then not do again until Russia. So yeah, pretty strong circuit for Valtteri Bottas usually. I wonder if perhaps the reason that he performed below the level you'd expect from him in a season was due to the incorporation of so many new tracks compared to a usual season. Maybe we'll see in 2021 a bit of a return to form for him. Who really knows? All I know is that I want to see him do well. I do quite like Valtteri Bottas, but I think you can't really deny he has been a little bit disappointing compared to the level that we've seen from him the 3 years prior. He's always been able to take the fight to Lewis Hamilton until sort of like the halfway stage, but he genuinely looked out of it for the whole season this season. So I don't really know. So we're going to load our Austria setup. Actually, I'm just going to check the weather. It's going to rain towards the end of the race, but I think I'm going to risk it on a dry setup. And if I compromise my race towards the end, hopefully I'll just be so far out ahead that it won't matter. So let's hit the track. Now we know I'm good pace-wise, so maybe, just maybe, I can get 2 poles in a row. How great would that be? And actually, no, I didn't get pole in France, so I don't know what I'm talking about. I got second in France, so maybe I can get pole. But yeah, I did win in France, so maybe I can have a couple of wins in a row if this goes well. You just run very low downforce here, basically, is all you do, because there's like 3 corners. It's very easy. And even most of the corners are fairly high speed as well, so it doesn't matter that much. Looks like Verstappen's actually the faster of the two up to this point in the lap. Let's see who, well, hopefully is getting second. Looks like it could be either of them at this point. They're very close with one another. I lost a lot of time through that corner section, but it looks like I just about got away with it.
Fantastic. You've got pole.
Okay, that's what, a 4th pole position of the season, I think. I'm not sure. Maybe it's only my 3rd. I don't remember. I definitely got pole in Bahrain. I got pole in Australia, I think. And maybe I got it in Vietnam as well. I don't remember.
Ready for tomorrow's race, but before we begin, let's have a quick look at those who will be fronting the grid. Perez, Hamilton, and Max Verstappen. With qualifying wrapped up, we now have our grid lineup for the big race tomorrow. Be sure to join us then for what will no doubt be a fantastic race.
Look at that though, a 10th between the front 4. That is a pretty good qualifying if you ask me. I remember now, there is something I didn't do, so we'll do that before the race starts in this menu. We'll turn up the AI difficulty 1, because that's the rules. When you win a race, you up the difficulty by 1. At least that's the way I play it. You can play it however you want to play. You could decrease the difficulty by 1 if you win a race, but I mean that's just positive feedback, really, isn't it? And no one likes that. We want to break this negative feedback loop. I want to make it harder for myself to win each race, and then it becomes an incentive to improve my ability to drive. Now I know what you're thinking. Why don't you just take off some of the assists? Who knows? Why don't I do that? It's a mystery to all of us.
Race day is upon us once again. I've got a feeling we're in for a special one today.
Care to elaborate? Guess not.
The Spielberg circuit then is situated situated 700 metres above sea level, with just 10 corners making up one of the shortest laps of the season. One time around here is a distance of 2.6 miles, with the best overtaking chances into turn 1 or the tight uphill turn 3. Alongside me to discuss all the action today is Anthony Davidson. Thanks for joining us, Ant. And tell me, you were down in the pit lane earlier. How do you think the track conditions are today?
Well, it's looking a bit cold out there, if I'm honest. These tyres have quite a narrow operating window in terms of the temperatures they need to extract the best grip. So with a cold track surface, it's going to be harder to keep those temperatures up, which will lead to lower grip and maybe more mistakes.
Before we begin, let's take a quick look at the grid lineup for today's race. It's Sergio Perez on pole position today, and it's Lewis Hamilton alongside. Looking at the rest of today's grid, we have Verstappen, Bottas, Alexander Albon, and Vettel, Leclerc, Stroll, Sainz, and Daniel Ricciardo. Gasly, Fiat, Lando Norris, and Ocon, Giovinazzi, Raikkonen, Nicholas Latifi, and Kevin Magnussen. Grosjean, George Russell ends our grid line. Now, it's almost time for lights out, so let's go down to the track.
Now that's more like it, Giovinazzi. That's where we want to see him, not in 20th. Alright, fairly easy strategy, 9 and 9. If that rain is coming, do I want to risk starting on the mediums? I don't know. Because if I start on the mediums, then I'm going to sacrifice my pace, but then I only have to pit potentially once if rain is coming towards the end of the session. But maybe I'll just drive so fast that I won't have to account for the rain. Yeah, I think I'm gonna do the soft medium, because my theory is if I can stay in front with that pit stop anyway, then everyone's pitting again for the inters anyway. It makes sense in my head rather than playing some weird pit stop strategy to just play it safe when you're at the front. If I was in like P4, it would be a different scenario, because then I could get a bit experimental with my pit stop strategies, because I wouldn't have, you know, if it goes wrong, I've potentially blown the lead of the race. What has gone wrong is whatever is going on with the squabbling behind me. I'm already a second out in front, which means effectively no one's getting DRS on me on one of the tracks where DRS is probably supremely important. What is that sound? It sounds like there's like a bunch of like contact underneath me. But I'm not sure, you know. It looks like there's a big squabble going on between Hamilton, Verstappen and Bottas for P2 at the moment. This is letting me get away by like 2 seconds already. This is it's exactly what you want to see in a race like this, and we could be about to make it 2 victories on the bounce. That would be a great result. And then if we win here, then the next step from here is 90 difficulty, which is not one I've raced on since I played F1 2018. I think I lost a bit of my mojo between 2018 and 19, because on 19 I was playing down in like the 70s. I found it a lot more difficult. But then I also discovered that I had a controller problem, which meant that my right trigger, I couldn't depress it all the way unless I basically like got giant blisters on my index finger on my right hand. I guess probably from overuse. I got the controller second hand to begin with, so yeah, I don't know how much life it would have had left in it by that point. And yeah, I had to really try in order to squeeze the right trigger the whole way, so I was essentially running at like 85% throttle most of the time, unless I like caused myself physical pain, and I realised it wasn't worth it, and then I bought myself a new controller, and then that solved the whole issue. And now I can play Gran Turismo Sport without wanting to die, so that's fun.
Good job. That was the fastest lap of the race so far.
So it looks like I'm the pace setter in this race so far. And with DRS being enabled, there is definitely the likelihood of some squabbling behind me. Basically, what I want to do is I just want to try and get as many laps done as I can before the rain starts coming down. Let's see what Jeff says about the weather.
Looks like rain is inbound, and we're
5
expecting
minutes,
it in
okay.
around 5 minutes. 5 minutes till the rain dries. Seem like the fastest tyre at the moment.
So that's going to be like 5 laps, basically. Because it's about 1 minute per lap around this place. So, yeah. If it starts raining, but it's not the crossover period yet, I might extend my stint. Like, if it gets to lap 8 and it starts raining, and it's quite visibly raining, for example, and like everyone else is boxing onto the mediums because that's what the AI do, I am going to do the crossover and like make my softs go for a couple laps longer. And then the ideal scenario is that I'll be like 20 seconds up the road from every other driver, and they will have been outfoxed by my supreme strategic brain. So it looks like I'm kind of just checking out of this race again. Like, I'm lapping faster than Lewis Hamilton at the moment, but I do wonder if that's because he's squabbling with Max Verstappen quite a lot. And yeah, Verstappen actually gets him there, so that's gonna do a world of good for Verstappen's championship hopes. I think he's currently out in the lead by 5 points, if I'm not mistaken. Actually, no, it's 9 points, isn't it? So yeah, definitely Max Verstappen mounting a case for the World Championship. But I really want to get stuck in there. I want to take the fight to the top 3. And with Bottas in P3 at the moment, I will outscore him by 11 points in this race, which means I'll take a 6-point lead if things stay the way they are at the moment. And that would be just amazing if that happened. That is definitely something I want to see happen. Whether it does, who knows? So yeah, the clouds are definitely coming in. And it looks like I definitely made the right choice then to not start on the mediums, because now I am gonna be in good stead for basically my pit stop should come around the exact time, the exact point of the crossover between dries and inters. And then obviously if we have to switch to wets, that's a whole different story, but for the time being it's looking like I'm in a pretty good position to take this race no matter how the conditions change. That felt like a bit of a track limits extension there. That's something I do quite often around here, but you know, if they say it's fine, I say it's fine. So we're already nearly a third of the way through this race. The laps around Austria come thick and fast when they're like a minute 10 seconds, you know. I think it's the shortest lap on the calendar, if I'm not mistaken. I can't think of another place where the laps are shorter than Austria. Obviously you've got the short tracks, but I don't really count them. There's a few in the 110s, like Canada is around only a tiny bit longer than Austria. Monaco is typically sort of like, what? For me, I reckon like 112, 113.
Okay, we don't think we're far away from some rain. I'll keep you updated as the conditions change.
And those are the only ones that come to mind. I can't remember how long Mexico is. I know Mexico is a reasonably short lap, but I think it's a bit longer than the ones I named. Brazil is quite short as well, actually, now I think about it. That's definitely a track limits extension. Get away with it somehow. No idea how, because I definitely went over the line, and maybe they didn't deem it beneficial, but I don't know how the game judges that, you know? Like, how are they to say he went over the line, but as you can see, he went slower than he usually would? Like, I'm not really sure how the game calculates that. But, you know, I'll take it, because I really don't want to get penalised when the gap is only 3 seconds at the moment. Let's see. What's the weather looking like? So I'm basically waiting for the rain to start at this point, because obviously I can't drive on the softs forever.
information on Russell. It looks like the problem is terminal. They're retiring the car. Virtual safety car deployed. Slow down and maintain a positive delta. Virtual safety car is deployed.
I wonder if the safety car is on in this playthrough. I'm pretty sure it is, but I guess maybe they are more biased when it comes to putting out virtual safety cars, because if you take out a safety car, that takes away like, you know, a good like 10% of the race at minimum. Whereas
Virtual safety car is ending. Maintain your pace until the green flag. VSC
I
ending.
had to slow up there. Okay, lost a bit of time through the VSC, but I was worried I was going to exceed the delta right as it went green again, like I did in Spain. So Bottas is up into P2 now. This is really good for me actually, because I will still get ahead of Bottas in the championship, and that's taking away points from Verstappen and Hamilton, who I'm trying to close down in the championship. Obviously, you know, I'm getting 11 more points than Verstappen at the moment and 14 more points than Hamilton. And if I close those guys down, then, you know, then I could be in a legitimate shot of winning. So, yeah, we've actually been on a pretty good streak lately. I know I got disqualified in qualifying in Canada. It looks like the rain's actually starting to come down now, so I may hold off on boxing depending on what the conditions look like. I'm definitely going to change my tyre strategy to box for inters when I next come in. That is guaranteed. My tyre life still looks very healthy actually, so I might... Yeah, it says pit window anywhere up until lap 16, so I think I may try and extend this soft stint by just the one lap to get straight onto the inters. I think probably the majority of cars will do the same by the looks of things. I can't see a world in which the AI is stupid enough to pit under, like, wet weather, but for dry tyres, knowing that the crossover is going to be any second. Yeah, my pace still feels pretty good, so I'm definitely going to do at least one more lap, unless it's really bad around this final corner here. Yeah, we're all good. Looks like Verstappen and Hamilton are actually pitting, so I don't know if this is going to potentially cost me, but luckily the laps around here are quite short, so even if they close me up as a result of boxing one lap early for inters... Oh, they've gone onto the mediums! Oh no! I mean, oh yes, in terms of like, that has probably done me a world of good in terms of the championship, because if all these cars that are like in front of them now box straight onto the inters, then they are screwed. Like, they might not even score points. This is a huge opportunity for me in terms of the championship implications of this. I'm not taking the championship lead in this race, obviously, but there is a legitimate chance for me to significantly close the gap now. Let's see, DRS still hasn't been disabled, so I'm going to stay out for another lap, I think, and I think most cars will come in on this lap and probably box for the mediums, if I had to guess. Yeah, Bottas is coming in. Looks like a lot of cars are losing time to me, so let's see if we can see where... Yeah, Bottas is pitting for the mediums. I think everyone else is pitting for the mediums. But, you know, I still think these tyres have a lot of pace in them anyway, so I'm not too concerned. Even if the rain doesn't come down heavy enough for the tyre, like, crossover to happen, I'm still, you know, kind of comfortable with the tyre I'm on in terms of the pace I'm running. If the crossover is on this lap and DRS gets disabled on this lap, Sebastian Vettel would be on the podium, and that would be just wonderful to see. DRS still not been disabled though, so I think I'm going to stay out for one lap longer.
No tyre concerns at the moment, just focus on the driving.
But yeah, this definitely seems to have been the play. Like, I'm going to be so far ahead by the end of the pit stop phase now. Probably this will be my most dominant win of the season, provided that that there is actually a crossover point.
The tyre situation is an interesting one, but I think the right call is to stick with what we've got right now.
My tyre life is still looking fairly good though, so Vettel's boxing for hards, very interesting call with only 6 laps remaining. But maybe he's worried about the tyre deg on his car. I genuinely don't know why you do that. This, track limits warning there. That's fine though. This weather doesn't seem to be getting quite bad enough to warrant switching tyres, and I am actually getting a little bit concerned now that if I don't pit onto the mediums, then I'm going to get undercut by the cars behind me if I have to come in and pit for the mediums later. But you know, the rain said it was definitely going to come down like bad enough for the track to warrant intermediates by the looks of things. It didn't just look like it was going to be light rain. So I'm still optimistic, and I'm also maintaining the delta behind me to a level that means I should, in theory, stay in P1, even if I stay out on these tyres for a few laps longer. If there is a crossover point, I want to be right on it, you know?
At least another 10 minutes until this rain evens out. Stay alert out there.
And actually, another thing to consider, given that this is technically a wet race now, if I were to stay on the softs for the whole time, I don't know would I get disqualified? Because you don't need to change tyres under wet conditions. It's only under dry conditions that the pit stop's mandatory. So I could, if the tyres will survive the whole time, which it looks like they just about might, I could potentially do the whole race on this compound, even if there is a crossover point. If DRS gets disabled, I think that's the point where I can say I can do this whole race on this tyre. But the other thing to consider is that if DRS gets disabled, I probably won't run very quickly on this tyre. So, yeah, the zero stop is definitely something to think about. And honestly, even if I get disqualified at the end because it turns out you're not allowed to do that, I'm not even going to be mad, because at least I'll have learned something about the way that this game operates, if that makes sense. Like, I know it might make me look a bit stupid if it doesn't work, but I really don't know whether that's, like, allowed or not. It's happened to me before in a very, like, what am I trying to say? It happened to me before in a like a much earlier game, in F1 2010, I believe it was. I was driving for Force India alongside Adrian Sutil, and I believe everyone boxed for wet tyres like 2 laps before the end of the Hungarian Grand Prix, except for Adrian Sutil and one other driver, and I can't remember who it was, and it ended up meaning that Adrian Sutil won the Grand Prix because I boxed, and it was like the first race, because that game's difficulty was comparatively quite low, even on expert. It meant that I lost the first race of the whole season, just off the back that I had boxed for wet tyres, thinking it was the right call to make, and Adrian Sutil had just stayed out for a couple laps longer.
Okay, the gap behind is 24.7 seconds.
So Jeff says it's about the right time to change tyres. And I definitely feel myself getting quite significantly slowed. But I might stay out just for one more lap, actually. DRS still hasn't been disabled, so that's my threshold for I'm making the right decision, basically. If the DRS gets disabled, even then, I'm wondering, should I just stay out at this point? With 2 laps left to go, are these cars going to come in and box for intermediate tyres with 2 laps remaining in the race? I really just need the DRS to get disabled, because if it doesn't get disabled, I need to box for mediums at the end of this lap. Because then it won't have counted as a wet race. But if the DRS gets disabled, I think that's going to be the threshold for if it's a wet race. So, screw it. I'm changing this back. I'm changing this back to medium. Because I'm either boxing for mediums or I'm not boxing at all. I'm going to Timo Glock it. Come on, DRS. You know you want to get disabled.
Check your MFD for a new strategy option. Got that confirmed?
Well, things worked out pretty much exactly how I wanted them to work out. But I can't help but feel like I should have stayed out.
Complete, go now.
I did 16 laps on the softs. And now I'm on the faster tyre, and there's a very good chance that these cars might stay out.
Over into the track.
This race has basically gone about as good as I could have imagined it would. Like, I don't think there is a scenario in which this race could have gone any better for me if I'd tried. Because now pretty much every car behind me is in a position where they have to stay on the mediums, because there's no point coming in and boxing for inters for like 1 lap. DRS just got disabled, which is like, it's a tad annoying, because if I'd have stayed out when that pit call had come in, I was literally just coming into the lane when he said to check my MFD for a new strategy option, and if I'd have got that like maybe 3 seconds earlier, I probably would have stayed out, and then we would know whether the 0 stop is possible or not. But you know, they say that curiosity killed the cat, and I just got my 2nd track limits warning, so I need to make very careful not to extend on this final lap here. And yeah, so if you guys know the answer then, based on the fact that I wasn't able to find out for you in this race, is it possible to do a 0 stop if the weather conditions change from dry to wet at the very end of the race? I imagine it's probably quite a unique scenario where that would be possible. But like my softs definitely had the life in them to stay out for the whole race. So I don't really know whether that would have been a reasonable strategy or not. But I mean, we really have taken these guys to town in this race completely. Like, I don't know, after that pit stop phase there was basically no competition whatsoever, and yeah, unless I get a 20-second penalty for extending track limits here, which I avoid, we win our 2nd Grand Prix in a row. First time I've done that this season.
Fantastic. You've won the Grand Prix.
I think I drove quite well, although like I said, Austria is not that difficult of a circuit. Congratulations to Esteban Ocon, driver of the day.
And an incredible win for Racing Point. A brilliant performance. And talk to me. What do you think it was that sealed the win for them?
Rain always has the potential to liven up a race and mix up the order, and they've taken full advantage of that to claim the victory today. It's always a bit of a lottery when the conditions are like this, but they've managed to stay on circuit and have come out on top.
The Racing Point team will be very happy with today's performance and the final result. Another display of excellent driving and excellent teamwork, and a well-deserved first-place finish.
Yes, it was. It was in fact well deserved. Very happy to see Bottas in second there. Not because I like him, but I mean, in real life I do like him as a driver. But it's more because it means my gap to the championship lead decreases, which means now I'm definitely coming back into the championship fight, I think.
Let's have a quick look at how the driver standings have changed. Today's performance means Max Verstappen now owns the top spot in the Drivers' Championship. After an incredible day of racing, who was your driver of the day, Ant?
Let's give it to Esteban Ocon. That was a commanding performance today. Very impressive indeed.
It's time to check out the Constructors' standings. Our championship leaders retain their position, but their lead is shrinking. Well, that was certainly an incredible weekend of racing. Be sure to join myself and Ant for more exciting Formula One action soon.
And be sure to join me very soon for the British Grand Prix. If I was driving a career mode, it would of course be my home race. But because I am driving as Sergio Perez, we have to wait a little bit longer for my home race. And yeah, if you enjoyed, make sure you like and subscribe. And hopefully I will see you in the next one. Alright, screw it. I'm leaving my commentary in the video. You're going to have to deal with that cough. That was the shortest highlights I have ever seen. I have never seen a highlight reel that short before. Alright. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed. If you did, make sure you like and subscribe. And hopefully I'll see you for a race that hopefully brings more highlights than that one did. Thank you very much for watching.